Welcome to the Global Pulse, a short video series where our experts break down a trending topic in international business and why it matters to you.
Propaganda is the use of bias or misleading information to influence people's opinions. And it is used very often in political contexts to express your point of view. Now, this week in Global Pulse, we're going to talk about the propaganda playbook, how governments use video games and sports to shape narratives, which is not unusual. Now, of course, in the United States, the supreme law of the land is a thing called the Constitution. And when you look at the Constitution, it comes with something called the Bill of Rights, which were the first 10 amendments to that document, because it's a living, breathing document that evolves over time. And the very first amendment is very profound for us as Americans. It reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, that is considered the big five fundamental freedoms we have in the United States: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and freedom of petition. And why this factors in so prominently is when we look at something like video games. Now, if we take video games, we think of developers in the United States coming up with really cool games like War of Warcrafts, or if you think of Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. In the United States, we don't really have heavy censorship. And yet when you go into China, there's certain things you cannot say and have conversations about, like Free Hong Kong or Tiananmen Square. And so American developers know they need to alter their products for Chinese markets, and they do so accordingly in keeping with what they want. And what might surprise you is that also in China, they too have a constitution. So the People's Republic of China has a constitution that was passed on December 4th, 1982, and it's gone through a number of revisions as well. And in it, they do say that you have the rights as citizens for freedom of speech, press, assembly, association, and religious belief. However, what makes it very interesting in China is that they have state limitations. So under Article 51 of their constitution, it says that citizens cannot exercise their rights in a way that undermines the interests of the state, which is often interpreted very broadly to limit the application of these rights. So in other words, the government's saying we always want to be seen in a very positive light. And that is in keeping with what is the nature of propaganda when we get down to it. We find that propaganda tries to look at a certain ideology, and to support that ideology, many times we invoke emotions, we invoke passions. And when you think of political advertising, it's done all the time. So what makes this rather interesting right now in Global Pulse is that you have Chinese developers of games, and these video games have become very successful, where they build in the censorship, where you can't say certain things that would be putting China in a negative light. And they export their products to other countries in the world, the United States being one of them. And so it begs the question that if the United States has, over the years, said, we'll alter our products to meet the needs of your particular market, China probably will have to do the same for us. And it's one of these things that are coming into contention because it does make sense. We're all connected. We're all different sovereign entities, but we have to respect each other's rights. So as you know, there's alpha testing done internally in organizations to make sure the product is up to scratch. And then beta testing should be done with certain focus groups before it is released into another country. And so I'd like to think that the normal reciprocity will pertain here, that China will say, well, you've done it for us, therefore we should do it for you, and we all can keep marching forward. And at some point, we have to realize that propaganda is a very loaded word, but it is something that we all engage in, because when you get down to it, folks in power, especially politicians, know that it's their most powerful tool to maintain their power. So food for thought this week in Global Pulse. Thank you for listening. Take care now.